question. Have you ever worried that someone was lying about rape? Every single time a woman comes forward about having been abused by a beloved movie star, musician, TV star, YouTubers, that star's fans immediately accuse her of lying.
Of course they're going to think that person's lying. They like that particular star. However, the majority of people will, based on the evidence, make conclusions about that person's guilt or innocence. I mean, you showed Bill Cosby. You are aware that there are very few people who think he's innocent, right?
For a more complete story of the beaver, why not contact the Canadian Wildlife Service in Ottawa?
There are men's groups online that claim that women lie about rape 90% of the time. A sheriff in Idaho very recently claimed that they don't need a better system for rape kits which collect evidence because most victims are liars.
The majority of our rapes that are called in are actual consensual sex.
So Laci, I'm confused. You say that there's men's rights groups on the internet that claim there's a ton of false rape allegations, which I assume you disagree with. But then you post a video of a police officer who says that the majority of the rape cases he receives are in fact consensual sex. That is to say, it's not rape. And this is someone who actually sees and evaluates more rape cases than most people on the planet. So how is this helping your argument?
And I mean, look, couldn't you or me or anybody in the world just make up a rape for attention to get revenge out of jealousy, as Toby Turner's mom posted on Facebook? Yeah, you could totally do that. But would you do that? And how often does that actually happen?
Now that's a really good question. How often are false rape allegations happening? Well, unfortunately, we can't really know. I mean, for certain, we can say that false rape allegations have minimum and maximum values based on convictions for women who have lied and men that were convicted for rape. This, of course, leaves us with a very large range of cases where we can't prove if the victim was lying or if the defendant actually committed the crime. And to the best of my knowledge, there exists no methodology that can determine, with relative accuracy, the number of false rape allegations that are submitted to police.
The FBI states that between 2 and 8% of rape reports are false, which is actually a low number in the crime world. Other crimes, like say theft, they hover around 10% false reports.
Laci, where are you getting this information from? Because the document you showed is a technical user document. Its purpose is to instruct people on how to use Excel to report rapes. It has absolutely no statistical information whatsoever.
Even that 2 to 8% statistic is deceptive. It includes reports where someone accidentally identified the wrong person, reports that are thrown out because of inconsistent details, but it is a well-known fact amongst victimologists that trauma affects your memory.
Victimologists, eh? I noticed how you didn't say psychologists or psychiatrists. You know, the people that actually spend their entire lives trying to figure out how the brain works, especially in stressful situations. And generally speaking, these people are of the viewpoint that in events of psychological trauma, where there are strong emotions, this will lead to better memories of the event, not worse.
And that 2 to 8% includes survivors who recanted. Someone could take it back because they were lying, sure, but much more commonly, they take it back because they're being pressured to take it back, or because they've decided they'd rather just not deal with it. So what does this mean? It means that malicious, actually false reports and allegations are pretty rare, and yet, doubting someone, calling them a liar when they come forward, is extremely common.
You see, Laci, any claim of a crime needs to be met with some level of skepticism. Because if there's no skepticism, we get events like what happened at the University of Duke and the University of Virginia, namely false rape claims. But we're not being skeptical just to prevent the liars from destroying somebody's life. We're also skeptical because the fruits of this type of thinking is the evidence required to procure a conviction in court, especially for things like rape. And I'd assume this is something you'd want, Laci.
Many of the reasons why we're inclined to doubt someone revolve around rape myths, myths about victims, and myths about gender.
Gee, I wonder where these rape myths come from. Could it be the person that's skeptically analyzing the data? Or do you think maybe it's from the person that wants you to believe rape victims and not investigate their claims? You know, just take it on board without actually thinking about it. Which of these two people will perpetuate unfounded myths?
one, most perpetrators aren't greasy, creepy guys who hang out in the shadows. They're just regular people in our lives. When fans, friends, family, coworkers find out that someone that they know and love did something terrible, it can be really hard to grapple with and accept, and instead, they choose to deny it.
But they haven't found out anything if a rape claim comes forward, you twit. Because by your own argument, there's a 2 to 8% chance that the claim could be wrong. Hell, you know what? Let's split the difference. Let's say it's 5%. You know what that means, Laci? It means that when someone is accused of rape, they have a 1 in 20 chance that it's false. But to show you how significant 5% is, we're going to play a little bit of a game. Now, I'm going to have you, the viewer, guess a number between 1 and 10. Not only that, I'd like you to guess if the number is going to have an orange background or a purple background. So I want you to pick a number between 1 and 10, and whether it'll be orange or if it'll be purple. Okay, do you have it? Here we go. So, did you guess it? If you guessed it, guess what? You're the lucky winner of a false rape claim. So it'll be really interesting to see what people guessed and to see how many people are actually part of the Orange 3 master race.
That halo effect around a perpetrator can be so strong that you can have cases like Cosby's where nearly 60 women come forward and report and people still don't believe that anything happened.
But I'd bet dollars to donuts that most people think Bill Cosby's guilty. I mean, you're not going to base your opinion on the maybe like 7 fucking kids say the darndest things fanboys are you, even though they're all priests.
Sometimes the perpetrator even goes so far as to say, I didn't do it. They're lying.
How dare they try to defend themselves?
This affirms people who don't want to believe that the sexual assault happened. There are a lot of people, particularly in the States, who believe that in order for a rape to be real, you have to have reported it. And in order for that report to be true, a court must convict them as guilty.
I don't think anyone really has this view, Laci. For anyone to say that a rape had occurred, as a matter of fact, it must be proven in a court of law. I mean, what other standard do we apply to crimes in our society? However, we do understand that there are rapes that occur that never result in a conviction. And despite us knowing that these cases exist, it does absolutely nothing to tell us to what degree rapes are not being convicted. And that would apply exactly to the same way to false rape allegations, except for the fact that false rape allegations do in fact have the potential to destroy the other person's life. As such, we need to vet cases of rape and those making claims of rape before we can make a concrete decision about the accused.
In reality, about 68% of victims of sexual crimes don't report, and only 2% of rapists ever see a day in jail.
How would you know their numbers if they haven't reported? Obviously, they have to report it to someone, and even then, it's not 60% of sexual assault victims. It's 68% of people who claim to be sexual assault victims.
Does that mean that 98% of people are just lying? No, it means that our courts aren't arbiters of truth, and they're not always adequately equipped to handle sexual crimes.
You're right, they're not arbiters of truth. They're arbiters of fact about a specific situation. And unfortunately for you, this is the best system we have. And if you have a problem with it, what I suggest you do is sit down and figure out a better system for us to work off of.
There are myths about how a real victim would act. In reality, there's no one response to sexual assault. Different people handle it in lots of different ways.
Yes, people react to different things in completely different ways. But that doesn't mean that we can't draw inferences based on their actions. For example, let's say a lady claims that she was raped by a man and that man told her, if I ever see you again, I'm going to stab you in the throat and cut your head off. That would be absolutely terrifying. So if the very next day that this rape supposedly occurred, she ran up to the exact same man, gave him a hug and a peck on the cheek, do you think her claim was really valid?
Lastly, one of the sneakiest and I think most pervasive reasons why people don't believe survivors is that most survivors are women.
Yeah, just like how women aren't believed in domestic abuse cases. I mean, it's not like the police take their side all the time.
There are many subconscious sexist beliefs that we learn all throughout our lives that come in and inform our opinions. That women lie a lot, we're not trustworthy, we're manipulative, bitches be crazy.
How do you think you're representing women, Laci? Might want to think about that one.
Those attitudes attitudes and biases within ourselves go unchecked, they absolutely do real damage. But wait, what if it really is actually truly false? False reports are illegal, and they're typically taken pretty seriously when they surface. It's really important to talk about them, because ultimately, in this fight, we're fighting for justice, for everyone.
There was a man who was falsely convicted of rape, mostly because a lady lied about the rape. Guess how long she got in prison?
And where are we doing this interview?
In jail.
And how long are you going to be here?
They gave me 1 to 3 years.
That's right, that's how serious they take it. They take it so seriously that they don't even give her the same sentence that her victim had. And guess what, Laci? If she had never come forward, if she had never admitted this, we would have never known. The number of false rape allegations that have led to convictions or not is unknown.
So we need to pay attention in the rare moments that this happens to address them, to better understand them. And we do a whole lot of talking about false reports, which is why we also need to talk about the reality that sexual assault accounts are nearly always true.
You cannot know this, Laci. There is no magical methodology that allows you to peer into the brains of people and figure out if they're telling you the truth or lying about their rape claims, or simply mistaken about their rape claims.
We more readily believe someone who says they've been robbed than they've been raped.
Yes, because different crimes have different types of evidence. For example, vandalism. We can tell vandalism has occurred because there's spray paint on the fucking wall. We can tell that a robbery has occurred because your shit's gone, yo. For things like rape, evidence is much harder to discern. Things such as vaginal tearing or vaginal bruising can be signs of rape, or they can be signs of really great rough sex.
Men are far more likely to be sexually assaulted than to be falsely accused.
Again, you don't know that, and so what if you're more likely to be a victim than to be accused falsely? Does that mean it's not a fucking problem?
It's far more common that a survivor is convinced to back down by the public, friends, family, even the police, when something horrible did happen.
That's right, because if I know people, they're more apt to admit when they're lying and take personal responsibility rather than rely on some sort of excuse.
We need to talk about how widespread myths and disbelief protect abusers and allow them to keep on abusing others.
These myths that you claim exist is actually a myth in itself.
If false reports are something that worries you, know that statistically, you're on the side of reason and justice and truth to believe someone who comes forward.
Yes, it's completely rational to believe all claims of rape are true, while at the same time believing that 2 to 8% of these claims are false.
We need to be willing to face the truth, to approach justice honestly, even when the perpetrator is someone that we know and love.
Yes, Laci, you've been so honest in this video.
To April Fletcher and any survivor who finds the strength to come forward on YouTube or beyond, I believe you. And one day I hope that the world does too.
So for me, there's a really easy way to dispel with this idea of you should always believe the rape victim. If you ever encounter someone who says this, simply tell them, well, last night at 9:00 p.m., you raped me. Guess what will happen? They won't believe you. But why won't they believe you? Well, it's because they will think about the claim and use facts to determine whether it's true or untrue. And that's the whole point. Belief will always take a backseat to facts and evidence, even with those who purport to believe the victims always. For those who've seen my videos before, you might recognize that this is not my normal exit splash screen. I'd like to think jinkaboo, which is very close to a really bad word, for creating this exit splash screen for me. If you are an artist and you would like to contribute artwork as well, please private message me, and I'd love to include it in my videos as sort of like a mini thank you to my subscribers. And once again, if you like the video, please subscribe, comment, and like the video. It helps me tons. Thank you very, very much.